Okay, hello again. This is Madelaine from Magis. And today I'm going to speak to an amazing person that I've connected with very recently called Kendra Cunov. And she's from California. And I'm sure she'll let you know some parts of her history and her background because it's pretty remarkable, her life and what she's experienced. It's very unusual, I think. And the reason I connect with Kendra is I met Kendra through a community that we're part of. And I was recommended to listen to some of her videos. And they really stuck with me because Kendra is one of these people that is really authentic. She's raw and honest. And for me, that is really, really inspiring because a lot of times in this world, especially when we're watching other people's videos and we're listening and want to learn things from other people, people have got all these masks on and, they're becoming this person that they're really not. And I love authenticity. For me, that's how I learn, is when I see the core of someone. It's when someone dares to be who they really are and be okay with that. Because when you are, and when you're allowing yourself to be that authentic, there is nothing more inspiring to me. So, Kendra, welcome. It's really, really lovely to have you here today. And what I normally start with is I have a little box of questions that I normally just pick one before I get on.
That's fun.
And the question I got for you is, what legacy do you want to leave for your children?
Somebody asked me, I think it was about 4 years ago. It was slightly different, but it resonates for me now. They asked, what would I most want to teach my children? And I think this is where I'm at with legacy for myself right now, is a little bit less in the realm of what is it that I'm leaving, or something that's about a particular impact or mission or money or something. I think it's right now it feels less about that. Although I do think that my work in general touches this, but what came up for me about 4 years ago was that if my children, what I want them to know is that they belong on the earth. And I want them to, whether it's really having a particular place that feels like their place, or whether they have the travel bug and the world is their place, or however that part lives for them. But I want that inside, that when they stand, they know that they always have a place on the earth, that they feel belonging.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Do you know, that's really similar to what I would have answered that question as well. For me, it's so important to make my children feel that they are loved no matter what, that they can just by being, not doing, they are loved, It's just, I think in this world, sometimes we get lost in that. People get lost in that sort of idea that they need to do something in order to be of value, or be worthy.
Yeah, I mean, I see that a lot, and it can creep in very, very subtle ways. But sort of what have I done to deserve? And many people, again, it's very subtle. It's not like they think well, I have to earn your love, but there is a little bit of this well, but wait, have I done the things so that I deserve it? And then what do I have to do in return so that it's deserved? Yeah. And I think what you're saying too, even just taking up space on the earth to exist here, I somehow have to deserve my existence.
Yeah. And don't you find like this funny, like ego is this funny word, and I think sometimes we misinterpret the ego and allowing yourself to stand in your own light. Do you know what I mean? Do you find that people have that, you know, because ego is this negative, it's got this negative, you know, we're egotistical, and it's not a positive word, right? But then while standing in your own light really is, but we've got this funny, like, I find that personally myself, it can be hard to know, when am I taking up too much space? You know, am I allowed to stand there and focus on what I want to focus on, and you know, be egotistical in that way, or is that too much? You know, what am I allowed to do?
Well, and it's so funny, even the way that lives, because I have it too. You know, I have different versions, but I remember about 3 or 4 years ago, and I was co-facilitating an event, or I went and I was adding a piece of the kind of work that I do to somebody else's event. And when he gathered all the leaders together in the morning, he sent up a prayer. Like, he was like, okay, we're gonna, and I remember I was like, you can do that? That's allowed? And even in the moment that I was thinking it, I was having this thought, like, allowed by who? Like, who did I think was going to either allow or disallow? And it's like those moments where we catch that there's not even a concrete thing. It's living so kind of subconsciously. And it's just running, but I didn't even know who I thought was going to allow it or disallow it. I'd never brought it that fully into the light, you know? And then I was like, well, what else am I allowed to do that I thought like I wasn't allowed to do?
Exactly. That's a really good question. Like, what else am I not doing because I haven't, you know, I need permission?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because actually earlier today, I was working with a client who is, in this particular moment, one of the things is she's actually moving into whether she's going to offer some form of facilitation or coaching. Like, is this the path for her? And she's been witness to a teacher for a long time that she's done a certain kind of work for. And she was saying, I watch her and I would never want to be like that. But it stretched the bounds of what I thought you could do, like how I thought you could teach with people. And what I said to her was, I was like, well, that's valuable, but what if rather than going, oh, that's possible, I can talk to people like that. What if you thought about the things that you think are weird about yourself? And instead of looking at what she does and realizing that's possible, you realize the weird way that you want to be with people, that's also allowed.
Yeah.
She was like, but I think for all of us, I have to ask myself that same question.
Yeah.
You know, all the time as it evolves. What do I think is weird about me? What do I think is going to turn people off? What part can't I show?
Yeah. Absolutely. And really, you know, I find that sometimes when I get jealous or I look at someone and go, oh, I don't want to be that, or, you know, that really is my own reflection of me. So the question is always, it's not, I don't like that about her, is what exists in her that I don't like about myself. You know, what do I see in her that resonates with me? Because if it doesn't resonate with me, I can't see it. So because I can see it, it means it's inside of me. And that's the only way I can change it, right? You change the way you look at it by changing yourself. It's so true. Yeah, it's powerful. It's really powerful because people in general don't do that. You know, it's easier to blame or say, I don't like that. I don't want to be like that. But if we take it upon ourselves and go, okay, you know, what is it in that resonates in me? That's powerful. That's peeling that layer, isn't it? So, I mean, your life, we've just had a little chat, and I've actually read a little bit on your website as well, but your life is pretty remarkable, because I know you said that you've grown up in a monastery, like you spent your first 5 years in a monastery, and in my head, I'm thinking that's why you're so serene and peaceful. You seem like you've got everything under control. It's like, it's really inspiring to speak to you, because I find myself falling into that sort of peacefulness, because I love that part of me too, right? So how has that affected you in your life? As you can see, I know some things we're not aware of because it's just who we are, but
I mean, I think especially because I mean, I did go and live there as an adult as well, but because especially some of it is that foundational early years, that can be the hardest part to really go like, to turn the the mirror around.
Yeah.
However we grow up, we think like, well, that's normal, whatever it is. But I mean, it's so interesting for me even to look at this idea of authenticity, because it is just like you were saying earlier, the layers. And there's a part of me that is very genuinely finds a peacefulness, or I have there's a stillness that comes really naturally to me, or space and silence are truly and genuinely nourishing and what I want to create in the world. And there's also ways in which there's habits. I have habits of that, and that I create like a certain kind of stillness because it's comfortable. It's more comfortable than like chaos or a certain kind of, and I've really, especially becoming a parent, and then also as I've really grown in facilitation and holding more and more people in a space, worked with that part that can also play with more chaos, or find comfort without having to make it sort of still and peaceful. And I think it's one of the things I love about the nuance of something like authenticity is like, well, it's not just, is this part authentic or this part authentic? It's like, maybe they're both. And which one is more useful right now? Am I choosing with consciousness or out of habit or reflex? So creating some nuance around that. But I think that especially in some of those early years, and then kind of in my formative early adult years, also going back and spending a lot of time in stillness and silence, it did give me something to return to that it's like I trust. So you said something about this, and I've heard this also about when I make videos, taking the time, like I'll pause, or I'll breathe, or I'll think, I'll stop and sort of think like, wait, what do I really think about this? And that's been reflected to me as uncommon, or also that people like it, like they kind of like that. And I do think that that's something that a way in which I benefited, or something that was given to me through that kind of practice and that kind of space in my life.
Because it's really a gift, really. I mean, because I facilitate too, not big groups, but smaller groups. And I find a lot of people that come, just giving them the space to be.
Yeah.
Without having an answer or needing to be someone or, any of that, just being, just that space. It's enough that they come into the room, they go, oh, they just feel it, because life is just so hectic, or can be very hectic. We get caught up in the frontal lobe, sort of it's all schedules and doing and not really being. The being kind of takes a second place. It's not as important sometimes. So it really is a gift, like what you have, that you have that naturally within yourself, like it's been programmed in your in your brain, right? And what a beautiful thing to have, because we know, like, up until the age of 6-7, we really absorb our environment, and to have the luxury of having been brought up in that kind of environment, to just have that peace naturally within yourself, I mean, that must give you so much, especially as a mom as well. I know you've got 2 children, is that right? 2. Yeah. So do they I mean, I'm guessing they are peaceful little souls as well.
I don't know if I would say that. My son in particular I mean, I imagine you've seen this too, but it's like all beings, like children or humans, it's like they really come in with something, and they're all sort of beautiful in their own way. But I often think, and I kind of feel forged, like almost like forged in the fire of my son being my firstborn, and it always felt like he came in really forcefully, and he has a lot of energy, and he can be pretty stubborn, and we certainly butted heads. And it's taught me a lot about, well, I would say two things. One is it's called forth in me a place where I need to be a little bit more forward than is my natural inclination, right? Like I'd rather just be kind of the peaceful, and it should just flow peacefully because I'm being peaceful. And he sort of has called something more fiery out of me. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
And I actually thought of this when we were connecting earlier too, about, again, where there's this almost this tension point in the idea of authenticity. Like, wait, who am I really, you know? And really being a parent is one of the things that has really forced me, in a sense, I would say, like forced me to look at, because who am I going to be for them? It's like, who do I want to be left to my own devices with nothing that else, like who's that? And then who do they need me to be? And what I find is that that's also true in kind of all of our intimate relationships. And that there's a way that's called forth in a particular way as a mother or as a parent, where we kind of lay ourselves down for our children. It's not just like, who do you need me to be? I'll change. But I also see with like my partner that I can bring myself in ways that call out the best in him, that are also true for me, even if they're not like the first, most authentic response, like the thing that I would just automatically do that's all mine.
Yeah.
Because of who he is.
Yeah.
He's a really different kind of a being. And where I might come in and just want more closeness, but I can see it's like, oh, if I just give a little space.
Yeah.
And then I bring it like this, then suddenly he can. And is that less authentic? Like, I don't think so.
No.
But it kind of calls that into question, right? This like, wait, what does that mean?
Yeah. I love that. Because, well, when I hear you say that, I hear that it's all about connecting to here, and when you're connecting to the other person through here instead of this, I want it right, I want to, I want to do it this way. When you connect to here, you can feel it's connecting to that heart through the other person's heart, and then you'll be speaking the language in order for them to connect with you the same as you connect with them, and then you've got, the outcome will be different, but it will be more beautiful because you created the outcome together.
Right. I what I love is like the way that it's in one of the models that I taught, there's sort of this idea, it's like there can be a space where it's like me, it's all about me. And I actually think that's a beautiful space. It's totally fine, we all have it. I just teach consciousness about it. Like there's a place to go, like, hey, it's all about me right now. Okay. Come on, everybody, like get with the program. It's about me. And then there's a place where it's about me and you.
Yeah.
But there's still actually this little space almost, because there's me and there's you. But we can talk about things, we can collaborate, we can make compromise, we can understand each other. And then I think there's a place where it's actually about we.
Yeah. And
it's beyond me and it's beyond you, and it's beyond even me and you, but there's something that's we. And that's kind of what I felt when you like made this gesture of when we listen from here.
Yeah.
We start to be able to feel, well, what serves we?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So beautiful. It's, I love working like that because, like I call it the field, there's different fields. There's my field when I'm with me. And then when we're like just you and me right now, we're connecting and we're communicating through this, through the heart, like, and I can feel you, and we're, and then we've created a field. And then it's like you said, it's the super conscious, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
There's lots of words, right? And it doesn't really matter. It's all the same stuff, but it's this sort of united. It's like when you're in a room with a group of people, you're part of it too. And like as a facilitator as well, like you're doing, you're helping them to sort of create that in a beautiful way, to create a beautiful connections instead of, the fight in between, but really sort of connecting those energies together.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember you said before, that you've got lots of kind of, I suppose, habits or ways to live. Is there anything, or maybe many things, that you would do on a daily basis, or things that you do to really kind of hone in on that peace and serenity and being you, having that peace that we spoke about? Do you do anything in particular?
Well, I have a pretty long-standing yoga asana practice,
Uh-huh.
and I think that does that for me a lot.
Yeah.
I do some stillness meditation, but I actually, I think because the still part of me is more cultivated, it's been cultivated for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
There's less that I do to cultivate that within myself.
And
And I've done more to actually cultivate the parts of me that can move and that are more fluid. And so it changes to some extent what that actually looks like. But, I've gone through times where I'll do, more regular, like kind of a movement practice versus a stillness meditation. I do more Kundalini meditation now than I do like Zen meditation. Again, there's often more breath or more movement. And I think for my particular system, that's been important. Kind of again, we've been playing a lot with this word authenticity. And so not so much about becoming a different person, right? Like the stillness is really great, but like expanding range.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really important as well, because, I teach a lot of meditation in my classes and what I do as well, because I believe, it's truly important to find a way to connect to yourself.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be sitting in a lotus pose with candles and incense and music. And, it's like I joke sometimes to say, like, how often does that happen as a mom? It doesn't really. Like, I'd love to do that, get up every morning, have my candles and music and 20 minutes, half an hour to myself. It doesn't happen, right? But what you're saying, it could be a movement too. Like yoga has really kind of taken off in the world right now, but there's lots of things we can do. It doesn't have to be just one way. There are many things that we can do to connect to ourselves.
Absolutely. One of the things, like I would say one of my catchphrases with my clients, and I use it with myself, is because I'll say there'll be like some practice or some piece, and I'll say, well, this would be best if it was daily. Yeah. But it's even better if you actually do it.
Yeah.
For about, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I remember I had fallen off doing a regular yoga asana practice. And I was trying to get back in, and I kept kind of not being able to do it. And finally I was like, okay, I commit that every morning I will unroll my mat and I will spend 5 minutes on it. It doesn't matter what I do on my mat. Like I could lie in Shavasana for 5 minutes. I could just do a forward fold. Doesn't matter. But I have to unroll my mat and I have to spend 5 minutes on it. And when I gave myself that kind of like gentle piece, it allowed it to expand in a way that worked for me and my family like that. So, you know, a lot of times when I'm working with people and they get excited about meditation or yoga or dance or breathing, or they're like, I'm going to do all the things and journaling and morning pages. And this is my day. You know, I'm like, that's your whole day.
Yeah.
And so it's more like, what is the one thing? Maybe two. You know, if you don't have kids, you could do two. But what's the one thing that's going to make a huge difference? And how often can you truly do it? So that you know you're going to win, you're going to succeed.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to carry it forward. And yeah, so, you know, I mean, I think there is some stillness meditation that's amazing, you know, probably that you teach, and then yoga asanas. Like my kids, I think when I started that, what was really helpful is I would put on one mantra, and it would be like 6 minutes long, and they could understand. I would say, like, you have to leave me alone until this song is over. And they could kind of get that, you know. I wouldn't say 10 minutes because they couldn't understand 10 minutes because they were only 2, you know. But they could understand that, and they could actually give me that space. And then I could bring that in, and it could expand in its own natural way.
Yeah. And sometimes that's awesome. I do that too. And I think once you do that for a while, the kids get so used to it that it's just what mom does. It's just what mom does. You know, it's just one of these things. She's meditating. It's all good. Leave her alone. She'll be finished soon. But what I love as well is that, you know, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be segregated from the kids. It's almost like, you know, it's okay that they come in. It's okay that they see you. It's okay for them to almost take part. If, you know, my little boy, when he was he's 6 now, but he was only tiny, he'd come into the room and he'd sit on my lap. And that's okay. Just put him on your lap, and he'll see, and he'll breathe, and he'll feel your breathing. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. But just those, I love what you said about the 5 minutes. And I do that a lot as well, because a lot of people think, oh, you need to do half an hour meditation, and then you need to start the gratitude journal, and then you need to, and it's never going to work. And then I want to eat healthy. So I'm going to buy all organic food, and then I'm going to do filtered water.
No sugar.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, no. It's too much. Your brain will just go, can't do it. It's too hard. So 5 minutes, that's it. You know, I don't care if you sit and think about a million things, and you have to bring your mind back to, you know, watching that candle or watching your breath. It doesn't matter. Just do the 5. Because what happens is, what I find, I don't know if you do, but it starts to filter into your day in different ways. It just filters in. And that's, for me, that's what meditation is. It's in the beginning, it's something you do, but after a while, it's something you are. You know, it just becomes, you do it. You sit and wait in the car for someone to arrive, and you can just focus on your breath for a minute until they come, or, you know, it just becomes this natural thing that exists in your life. And that's the power of meditation, or, you know, whatever practice that you're using in order to reconnect. So that's really good. And that's really good information, you know, that you just said about starting yoga or all these things. And I think that's maybe why a lot of people are connecting to that right now. You know, a lot of people are feeling that there is something more. There is something more, and, you know, they get interested in yoga or meditation, and some of them don't even know why, or they do it for the, you know, to get fit or whatever, but there's still, you know, it's still there. It will filter into their life, you know. So looking at your life and what you're doing a lot of you facilitate groups. Do you work with one-on-one clients as well, or is it
very rarely?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I really, again, it took me a while to really acknowledge, like to admit almost that just wasn't my thing.
Okay.
It's not totally not my thing, but it, in fact, I was having a voicemail exchange with a friend of mine who works exclusively with one-on-one clients. Yeah. And she was sharing, I was listening to a voicemail she left, and she was sharing like, oh, what I love about that is how I get to put my full attention on them, and I get a whole hour, and I get to really hear from them. And I was listening, and I was thinking, oh, everything she's saying is why I like groups, but I just go at it differently. And so I watch someone in a group relate to somebody else in a group, and I get to see what they do or how they said it or and I'm like, and that's where I get so much of what I then work with.
Yeah.
And we're often laughing actually, because we're very similar. We had very similar upbringings and we have all these things in common. And she hates the idea of running groups. And I like hate the idea of seeing as many one-on-one clients as she sees.
Yeah.
And so we just laugh about like how that is. And so it's been this process for me really of realizing over time, this is what I love. Yeah. And this is where I think that I actually do the best work. So it's almost entirely groups. And then every once in a while, either between, when something's going to start or someone just has like they really sell me. They kind of sell me and I'm like, okay, we can work together one-on-one.
Yeah. So is it mostly around, would you say you're working mostly around intimacy and relationships within your groups then? Or are they all different? Like, how do you work?
They're pretty distinct, actually. So I have a group that I run with another teacher named John Wineland, and we lead a program that's specifically about relationship and intimacy. Yeah. And it's the Embodied Relationship and Intimacy Training Salon. I think next year we're actually kind of expanding it. So next year it'll be 8 months long, and it's both virtual in this way where we have regular calls, but it also includes live events. Yeah. Because that's the other thing I realized is like, I actually love this and I love the flexibility this gives, but I will always love being with people live. So I'm always creating ways to like get groups together in person. Yeah. And then I also lead a group for women. It's called Fierce Grace. And that is, it's always a little harder for me to actually define what it's about, because I do find that it has so much to do with each woman and what she brings. But it is truly in the realm of embodying whatever that next step is for her. So we work less in the realm of sort of talk coaching and more in the realm of actually embodied practice. And some of that is, there's just a lot of different practices that I'll bring into the group as a group. And then different women also, I give them things to work on that have to, like, I have a woman in my group right now who, she didn't say this, but I could kind of see it. She came and basically she's ready to publish her first book of poems. And so as we went, and there came this point, and I was just like, okay, look, like this is the time and this is how you're going to need to do it. And part of it had to do with writing consistently, kind of like we were talking about setting up the container. But the other part was dealing with her resistance to writing. And so the practice that I gave her was before she sat down to write every day, she had to do a 2-minute temper tantrum practice and channel like her inner 3-year-old. She could either stomp around really loud or get on the bed and like actually like temper tantrum it out. You should yell, like really express it through the body. Yeah. Because, we can know why we're resisting things and then just keep resisting them. So yeah, Fierce Grace is for women, and it's really around, I would say it's around the embodiment of fierce grace in each woman, what that looks like for her uniquely.
Wow. So what I hear you saying now is you work in a lot, like, so you work internally, but it's very much about embodiment when you're working with people. Is that right? Absolutely. So it's really kind of connecting your inner to the physical, outer to your body, to the casing that we carry on this planet, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's really powerful because, even people that carry a lot of heavy stuff, we don't even realize what that does to our body. And to actually express, be able to express and use our body to remove blockages or whatever it is, it's really powerful.
Yes. I completely agree.
Yeah. So do you do that yourself? Would you find that, that's part of, I guess that's your, yoga practice and all that sort of stuff. Like you would.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I do a lot like I think, and again, this is around that expanding the range piece is, to do a lot of work both personally and then with people archetypically.
Yeah.
So finding, whether it's to a song or it's not, but expressing parts. If it's around expressing longing, or it's around expressing rage or jealousy or innocence, or right. I mean, there's so many archetypes. Some of them human, and then some of them, I mean, we work also with just natural world archetypes.
Yeah.
Like what's the archetype of, spring? What's the archetype of a volcano? And what's and so like actually finding the ways that these get expressed physically. Yeah. And using that both as a way, like you're saying, to move things, but also as a way just to grow, to be like, oh, wait, I have within me all of this. I have within me, there will be some time when either in its full expression or just because I know I have it, when, the volcano is absolutely going to be what serves. And then there's going to be some other time when it's something else, it's really, and what I love about that is that it's so personal, both what we need and what's challenging. Like sometimes, I'll give, I gave sort of like a ditzy, more like a teenage cheerleader to somebody. And for one woman, she was like, well, that's easy. And the other woman was like, this is like the worst thing. Yeah, this is awful. I can't even imagine. Yeah. So where we each need to expand is so different. And it's not like, oh, she should go be a cheerleader all the time. But if she can't express that ever, then we know that it's valuable to find some expression.
Absolutely. Oh, it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing what you're doing, really, truly. And a lot of, I recognize a lot of things that, I might be doing in a different way, but there's a lot of similarities. And, I work a lot with people with connecting to those different parts of themselves, the different shadows or archetypes or whatever you want to call it. And also being able to use, like, I've never thought about that, but you're using things from the environment as well. Like you talked about the volcano and, the spring. That's really, like, I use a lot of, because I do hypnotherapy as well. And it's supporting people, even using a person that they might be looking up to, someone that they really admire, and go into what are those qualities, what are those qualities, and to become that, to really feel that in their body, to really expand that within themselves, so that they get that bodily experience of what it feels like, and then practice to get into that state on a regular basis. Like you said with the girl with it, doing the tantrum thing. It's something for her to release, right? She needs to get out of it, and whatever she needed to do to do that. But it's really powerful to use that physical, psychosomatic kind of embodiment on people to express themselves. Because sometimes life is very rigid. We get put in this box, and this is who we are, and we accept, this is what we like and what we don't like. And it's so powerful just asking yourself, is this true? Is this the truth of who I am? Or is this something that I've just decided to say is the truth, and then I'm just living by it? Is this the
totality of who I am?
Exactly right.
Everything in the box, we pick out each piece, and it's like, yep, this is me. Yep, this is me. But it's like, is this the totality? Are there things outside this box that are also me? Yeah.
And I think, I don't know about you, but when I started working on myself and really going deep, there was a lot of times when I started questioning my own truth, or what I saw as truth. I had this idea of what I thought and what I liked, and all of a sudden I had to go, well, I'm not really sure that's true anymore. That's not who I am anymore. And it's because as you grow, you change. It's really powerful. So what you're doing, using the body and the mind to allow people to express themselves who they fully are, when it comes to authenticity, that's so powerful.
Well, and I don't know if you have this experience, but I know that I have, and I see it it can also be kind of disconcerting or a little bit scary, right? Like, wait, I knew who I was for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, or and now that's being called into question in some way. And so I think it's so powerful. Like you were talking about, people walk into the space and they're like, oh, you know, to actually create, whether it's a physical space or some kind of container that lets people know, okay, it's okay to do that here. You're still held. We're not going to let you just fall. In the midst of that.
Absolutely. Oh, it's been such a treat talking to you.
Yeah, it's really been a pleasure.
Really, it's been really lovely to connect with you, and I feel really fortunate that I get to meet you in a few months' time. It's going to be really fun to see you. I'm guessing you'll be there facilitating as well. Maybe
I will likely. I'll likely bring something. Make sure to, like, come and find me. For sure.
I will definitely. So I'm looking forward to experiencing more of what you do and getting to meet you in person. So at the end, I normally ask 5 quick questions. I start the sentence and you'll finish. And just be you. And with that, I'd like to say thank you again. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
So, number 1, the world is
wide.
I love it when
it rains. Yeah, and the smell of rain.
If I had time, I would
take regular retreats to a cabin in the woods where there was no electricity or internet, and be in that space.
I am my happiest when
when my kids are playing really nicely with each other.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. My kids are on school holidays at the moment.
Right.
You know, they're in 2 separate rooms. I say, let's go play together, and they go play, and 5 minutes later it's I'm like, oh gosh. Yeah, I hear you on that. I love them playing it together, but how often does it happen? Okay, so my future is
bright.
Beautiful. Well, here's to a bright, lovely future and a gorgeous, prosperous 2018 for you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise. Ciao.